order for April 27th, 2021 at 6:45. Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll call and posting of the agenda, please. Madam Clerk, are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Can we have a roll call and the posting of the agenda, please?
Absolutely. Councilmember Madrigal,
Here.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald.
Here.
The agenda was posted on the outside kiosk at City Hall on April 20th.
Thank you. And Mayor, would you be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Absolutely. Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. That takes us to public comments on items not on the agenda. And I don't believe we have any. We only have one speaker on item C1.
That is correct, Chair McDonald.
Okay, thank you very much. That will take us to the reports, item C1. And let's go ahead and do the public speaker now, and then we'll proceed from there, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Pat Brown is not available at the moment.
Okay, well, we'll see if we can find her in a little bit. This is from the Police Department. It's Office of Traffic Safety Selective Traffic Enforcement Program Grant. And the recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Development Committee recommend that City Council adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for $478,018.52 in grant funds, that the city manager designate is to execute the grant agreements and appropriate funds upon confirmation of grant award. The chief financial officer designee to submit financial reports and grant claims and approve budget appropriations for use of OTS. And finally, the chief of police or designee to submit all program related progress or status reports. And I'd like to start out, I read through this today, and I reached out to a couple of staff members. One, there is no match on behalf of the city. So this is essentially money they're going to give us with no strings attached to it. And the staff I reached out to, I asked a couple of questions. One, why is it coming to us if there's no financial match on our side or no commitment? And that's because that's the system we currently have in place. And secondly, is that OTS does require a council resolution in order to accept the grant money. So, Mr. City Manager, provided that my peers concur with this, I would suggest that if it's money like this where there's no strings tied to it, there's no financial impact on the city, that we make this an administrative matter, that it goes directly to council for the authorization for the council to, sign the resolution. And I think we could speed up the process a lot quicker. I appreciate staff doing all the work they've done, but I really don't see much purpose for this coming to committee other than we just say, sure, go ahead and go to council with it. I think it should just go straight there. I don't know, Mr. City Manager, do you have any comments on that? Or
that would be great. That would expedite this process. Again, I think it's important when there is no local match. I think that is fine to put it on consent.
Thank you. And just to make sure that we're all aware of this, I would ask maybe once every quarter or whatever, we get a list of grants that were submitted directly, without our review, if it's appropriate. But council's still going to see it, but hopefully on info consent. Do the other committee members have any questions or comments on this?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Chair McDonald,
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to notify you that Ms. Pat Brown is on the line.
Okay, let's go ahead and take her comments now then, and then I'll come back to the committee members.
Ms. Pat Brown? Ms. Pat Brown, you may unmute by pressing *6.
Ms. Pat Brown, you may unmute by pressing *6. Ms. Pat Brown, you may unmute by pressing *6. Hello?
Yes. Hi, Ms. Brown. We have an echo. May I please ask you to turn off your TV in the background?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, sound thing is a different thing. Sorry. I have surround sound and it takes a bit to turn it all off. Okay, I'm ready when they are.
Okay, Ms. Brown, you have 3 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Okay. I'm wanting to make a few comments because of it being this topic, safety, selective traffic enforcement program grant. We have, and I know you've all heard this 25 times or more from me, but we have a very, very bad traffic problem in downtown Oxnard. And that goes from the 3rd Street Bridge, or before that actually, up in Gonzales, it's already functioning, all the way to Woolley Road along Oxnard Boulevard. We have big trucks, and you know that the truck trailers are much bigger now than they were 10 years ago. I would say at least a quarter of the size bigger. And we are having a very, very terrible time with this. And unfortunately, people who work, who are the voters, are working and they're not out there seeing this, but it's terrible. The trucks don't need to come up and down Oxnard Boulevard. They should be coming in from the freeway and going to the freeway by Rice Avenue or one of those streets out there. Del Norte is another one where they can go in and out. They off and on the freeway. They do not have to get onto Oxnard Boulevard, and they are just making a total mess. I personally witnessed, just by accident, I was coming north on Oxnard Boulevard, and this is a few weeks ago, and a big truck trailer was coming southbound, and he wanted to make a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn into 7th Street to go east on 7th. And then there was another truck that was waiting at the 7th Street at Oxnard Boulevard to go out at the same time. Totally impossible. Another time, also a few weeks ago, a truck was going out onto Oxnard Boulevard from 7th Street
30 seconds.
and waiting there for the signal to turn. There was a car in the center lane wanting to make a left turn going south onto Oxnard Boulevard South. There was a big truck trailer rig that I was right behind, and they wanted to make a right-hand turn into 7th Street. All of this, all at the same time. Totally impossible. That street has only one lane in each direction and the left turn in the middle. That's it. It's not big enough for those trucks. And they go through there, out.
Okay, Ms. Brown, thank you for your comments. Do the committee members have any questions of staff regarding this issue?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, the question I have is the 478 for the STEP program. One of the things that is in the second paragraph of the background, it says that this is to reducing the total number of collisions through enforcement, education, and engineering improvements, and of course, motorists and for the safety dedicated for motorists and pedestrians and bicyclists. What is the engineering improvement? What is that? What would that be?
Chief Sansegar, you want to handle that, or you want Commander Arnett to handle it?
Alex, go ahead. I'm having trouble with my microphone.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, so the grant is going to allow us funding to purchase various for example, the pedestrian signage. In some areas of the city or different cities, you do see some of the pedestrian pop-ups that warn vehicles as they approach different intersections that is a pedestrian crossing. So it'll allow us to purchase some signage that we wouldn't normally be able to purchase for specific intersections.
Well, that's great. And also how many police officers was this fund?
There is no funding for police officers. The funding we would utilize to pay officers on overtime to do specific enforcement activities.
Okay. Well, it's good because, it's dedicated for the safety of motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists,
Yes.
which I think is extremely important.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Thank you. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Madrigal or Councilmember Madrigal, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, and the only side comment I would make would be, hopefully there's some way that we can track the overtime in a separate account other than regular overtime, because we hear from a lot of people about how people are working so much overtime. So I think we need to set it aside so we can show that this is not general fund money that's going to overtime. It's specific grant money that can't be used for anything else. So this is just
paid
my
for,
comments.
yeah, it's paid for out of a project. We create a project for it.
Great. Okay.
Okay, either the chiefs or the commander have any more comments? No? What's the pleasure of the committee?
But a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion. Madam Clerk, if we can have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Chair McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. That takes us to item 2. My comments would be the same on this, since it's the same type of grant with no cash buy-in on behalf of the city. I think it should just go straight to council as an info consent, and we can get a report later to find out what was done. So committee members have any questions? There are no public speakers.
Again, Mayor Pro Tem, again, we're looking at the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists, and of course, we had that horrible accident over in Wanimi, which, 7 kids that got run over and so forth. But the speeding and inappropriate use of a vehicle it's really important, that we have the safety pedestrian bicycle safety grant to assist us. So, with
Thank
that,
you. Councilmember, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, staff, if you don't have any further comments or additions to this, I'll move it to what's the pleasure of the committee. And the request here is that the city manager apply for $25,694 and change in grant funds from the state of California Office of Traffic Safety to be used in fiscal year 2021-2022 for pedestrian and bicycle safety. The city manager or designee to execute grant agreements and appropriate funds upon confirmation of grant award, and the chief financial officer or designee to submit financial reports and grant claims and approve budget appropriations for use of OTS funds, and the chief of police or designee to submit all program-related progress or status reports. So what would be the pleasure of the committee?
move approval.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Mayor Zaragoza,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Chair McDonald.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you so much. That takes us to item number 3, Culture and Community Services Department, agreement with Oxnard School District for the operations of the after-school education and safety program, or safety grant, excuse me. And that the recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee recommend that City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement, paren A-8318, close paren, with the Oxnard School District, also known as OSD, for the city to receive an amount not to exceed $2,750,000 with a city match of $130,000 of in-kind services. So, do the committee members have any questions of staff?
I have a question.
Sure.
This came up in the past, and the issue has to do with training of staff. I know that it's usually a, district's fault. We say it's the district's fault. The district say it's to the city's fault. And, I think it's one of those issues where it's two government entities working together and, there's a hole somewhere in there. The training from actually experience from people who actually work there under the ACES program, I know the training is actually very lacking. And I know on the staff report it does say that the district provides the training. And I know that the training is lacking very much. And there's a weird gap at the beginning of each school year, obviously not this school year because of the pandemic. But it's something that I actually want to resolve because those first 2 to 3 weeks of the school year, everything's in limbo. The program is not running at the beginning of every school year. So it's just one of those issues where, I think that, we need to work directly with the school district. So that gets taken care of because it's ever since I've been on council, it's the same issue every year. It happened in 17, it happened in 18, it happened in 19, where there is a gap, and it's usually, it's the school district's fault, it's the city's fault, but at the end of the day, whoever ends up losing, it's actually the kids. So it's something that we need to work on resolving. Hopefully everything's running smoothly. Hopefully it is, and we could begin the ACES program regularly at the beginning of the next school year in August, I believe, instead of beginning sometime in the middle of September because our ducks aren't in a row. So that's actually my big comment on this. And I know that, not only, actually I have a second question. Is this only for the Oxnard School District, or does this one include the Hueneme School District as well, or are we doing that one at a separate time?
Mayor Pro Tem, we have Terrell here in the podium if you want him to respond to that.
Councilman Member Madrigal, this one is just for Oxnard. Hueneme will come back at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions?
The question is this part of to prevent the latchkey youth, that are to help out with the parents after school and so forth? And number one, and also I noticed that this is going to employ 122 youth between the age of 18 and 25, which I think is really outstanding. And it also looks like we have 100 hours of ongoing professional development training program provided by the school district.
So, Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, yes, this program does prevent that or help in that issue. We also, it's an education program, it's a enrichment program, and they're learning how to, there's different sports programs, there's different club programs, as well as English, math, literacy programs. So there's a lot of things involved with that. Also, when you talk about the staff, and that truly is our challenge, and I want to also speak to Council Member Madrigal's point. There is 122 positions there, so we are employing a lot of youth. That 122 positions looks more like about 200 because that's how many people we're going to have to employ to get through the school year because college schedules are changing, and a lot of our employees are in transition. So all the employees are para-educators after they receive the training. And to address Council Member Madrigal's concern, it's getting enough employees and getting them all trained, which is the challenge for us as well as the school district. So early on in the year, we're still putting people through training when we would like to have all the employees in July or August. So that is the challenge, and we are recruiting employees right now, but it is a challenge for us. It is a challenge for the district to get them all trained in time.
Mayor Pro Tem, is it a challenge also because of the pandemic, because of COVID-19?
That is a huge, it's a bigger challenge this year because of the pandemic,
Because of
Mr.
pandemic,
Mayor.
yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Just a quick question. It seems that in the past when we've done this, we've been able to utilize some city core assets for this program. Is that still the case?
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, yes, that is the case, more so for the Wainimi contract because City Corps oversees that division does.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is a lot of times I think we tend to look at city core as going out and picking up palm fronds and emptying trash cans. And I think this really broadens the scope for the young people coming into that program to see that there are different opportunities in this world and maybe help solidify them towards following the footsteps of Councilmember Madrigal and going into the education process as opposed to doing something else, because the educators of our community are forming the leadership of tomorrow. So I think it's a huge benefit to have City Core involved in this and seeing, that side of the work spectrum where they may not have thought of that before. So I fully support this. So what would be the pleasure of the committee at this point?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to share.
Oh, I'm sorry, hang on. Our city manager would like to say something, Mr. Nguyen.
Yes, I'm going to try to get Mr. Harrison back to discuss a little bit more the critiques brought up by Councilmember Madrigal. So it seems to me like there's a transitional flow that's a natural flow of this program because of the nature of the work and the people that we hire. And I heard the council member mention that in the contract, it's actually the school district that provides the training. So given that the flow of the young people coming through and the timing and some of them leaving to go to college and so on, maybe we need to re-examine perhaps what the training itself needs to be a different training module or something different. Because it sounds to me like there's a critique out there that a lot of people are claiming that there's not sufficient training. And we're saying it's partly or primarily due to the transient nature and the timing. Maybe we have to come up with a different training module to make it more effective. So I'd like to ask Mr. Harrison to consider that and speak to the school district about finding a better way.
I will talk to our liaison, Ginger Shea from the school district, so we can work on that and improve.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I think it's an excellent idea. I was going to bring that up too, that if we, get together with the school and make sure that we have the proper training, and I know that the council member has a lot of experience being a teacher and so forth. So, and this program's gone on for a couple of years. One of the things that I want to mention too before we make a motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, is that this also provides programming after school for 2,200 kids.
Yes.
2,200. I mean, that's a lot of children.
Yes.
And can you imagine if we didn't have that?
Right. And Mr. Mayor, there is also a long waiting list for this
Besides.
program. So yes, it is very popular with the kids and their parents.
So potentially we need more funding. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilmember Madrigal, any further questions or comments? No?
No, thank you.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee?
Get a motion to approve, sir?
Second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion by the mayor and a second by Councilmember Madrigal. The roll call, please.
Chair McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal,
Aye.
Mayor Zaragoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you all. That takes us to items for future agendas. Do any of the committee members have any suggestions for future agenda items?
No.
Mayor?
No.
No. With that, and I just want to make sure that Mayor and Councilmember, that you're both okay with the suggestion that if it's not a financial commitment on behalf of the city, we could go straight to council on some of these where it's just a requirement of the grant to get council approval. Is that okay with the two of you?
Yes, that works.
Mayor, you're okay with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you all. With that, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.